Hello there, belatedly, and welcome to episode 22 of Never Mind the Bullens. My name is Mike Peters. This is your bite-sized weekly Everton podcast and vodcast, recorded a couple of days after our defeat at Newcastle. A bad Sunday all round for Everton in terms of the defeat, not only for the men's team at Newcastle, but also for the ladies' team, and put in a valiant effort in the Women's FA Cup final. I was frantically trying to keep an eye on both games as they went on, and I have to say the ladies acquitted themselves far better than the men's team did, and were a bit unlucky, just ran out of legs in the end. They were a bit injury hit, and Man City, very, very good team, obviously, and probably deserved to win the game, I don't think there's any question. But Sandy McKeever, fantastic in goal, and the ladies can go away from that game with an enormous amount of credit, while obviously not getting the results on the day. The men's team, on the other hand, well, another very disappointing Sunday afternoon, it has to be said. The team selection was, I think, probably a surprise to a lot of us in terms of the way that the team was set up, but I sat and chatted to my brother in the car on the way back before the game started, as we sort of picked the bones out of it and thought, well, we can see the Carlo's thinking here, making us more solid, more difficult to break down, giving the back four a bit more protection, because we've been leaking goals at an alarming rate and unfortunately are continuing to do so. And thought, right, actually, by getting Gylfi Sigurdsson and Andre Gomes further up the pitch, hopefully they would give Dominic Calvert-Lewin a bit more support, because bless him, he had absolutely no help at all against Southampton the week before. He ploughed a very lone furrow there, but it was a bit of a throwback really to what we've witnessed over the last couple of years, but in terms of just completely one-paced. No sort of dynamism, playing very, very sideways. And Newcastle, we know they were going to be set up to be really compact, playing 5-3-2 with those wing backs, and Sam Maximin being the man that's going to just run all over the place. And I did wonder whether one of Fabian Delph or Alan or somebody, or Abdoulaye Doucouré, would be given the task of just sticking to Sam Maximin to kind of stop him causing trouble, because he is a good player. He's played it very highly. A real problem player that, is just by running and doing all the dribbling that he does create space for other players. But it just didn't seem to work. We had no energy at all. It seemed very lethargic, very sort of apathetic, and it was really, really disappointing. You could almost see what was going to happen. You just thought, we're not at it today again. And I have to say, Andre Gomes, I don't like digging players out, I really don't, but he consistently, and this is so disappointing because we know how good he is, what quality he has, but he has offered very, very little this season so far. The game seems to continually pass him by. He always seems to be a yard, 2 yards off the pace, and I'm just wondering what that's down to. And he offered absolutely nothing on Sunday, gave away the penalty with a very kind of lazy swing of the leg at the ball. All right, he didn't see Callum Wilson coming, but, it was not great when he's given a job to do at that front post. Of course, the Jordan Pickford decision to leave him out and put Robin Olsen in has given extra fuel to the fire for the media. And I just found it absolutely bizarre, the fact that when the penalty was being taken and in the aftermath, they showed a replay they had a camera trained on Jordan Pickford to see his reaction. I just found that weird. Robin Olsen, I have to say, acquitted himself really, really well. Made 2 terrific saves, particularly the one in the second half from Longstaff, where he got it. I mean, more difficult to put it, came off the top of his arm and flew over the crossbar. That was a fantastic save. And the one in the first half from Sam Maximin, very good save, made himself big, really good as well. But then for Carlo to turn around and say that Jordan Pickford's going to be in for the United game next weekend, I found an unusual thing to say. To sort of saying that you're going to take him out of the firing line because of all the brickbats that Pickford's been hit with over the last few weeks in the aftermath of the derby, and then was arguably the right decision. But I think it's bigger than that in terms of it's his form. He's consistently been inconsistent for quite a while now, and so therefore, why doesn't Robin Olsen deserve a chance? He probably does. So, but then Sarah would say, well, it's only for one game, we'll be back in for next week. I thought was an unusual statement. I must give credit to Dominic Calvert-Lewin because I thought he was fantastic on Sunday. His control of the ball was magnificent. And I sat there looking at it, I'm thinking, this guy is unrecognisable from the player that we signed for Sheffield United. It's like they're two different people. It's not even like you can see the progression. I mean, obviously he has progressed, but you know what I mean? In terms of... He's a player that I remember having a conversation with somebody a couple of years ago. I got a famous Everton fan at a Christmas party where we were both working at the same place, and we had a lengthy chat about Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and we both just concluded that he wasn't good enough. And I have to say, I'm so happy to be proved wrong because I thought his control and his use of the ball up against three centre-halves, he caused them problems, and I was so pleased that he got his goal. But yet again, he wasn't getting the support that he needs to be really, really, really effective. Certainly wasn't getting the service either. And then when, the substitutions were made, I just found Carlo just got those wrong completely. I did not get the logic of putting Abdoulaye Doucouré, our most dynamic midfielder on the day, at right back and taking Nkunku off when you want a player that can get crosses in, and putting Fabian Delph at left back. I know he can play there. He obviously played there but he's for Man City and won the league with them there, but he is a square peg in a round hole. The only reason he played there for Man City was because they didn't have a left back because everybody was injured. So I can't quite get my head around the substitutions. And the one that I really can't understand is Anthony Gordon not being used. Bringing Cenk Tosun on, okay, fine, because he wanted to give him something else. I mean, obviously, we're trying to get balls in the box. That's fine. But what has Anthony Gordon done to not warrant being brought on? His persistence with Alex Iwobi baffles me, really, because Alex Iwobi, as we've discussed many a time on this podcast, offers very little. I know he actually set up the goal, but let's be fair, that was a poor cross and took a deflection to get it into the path of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So I don't understand what he doesn't see in Anthony Gordon. I'm not sure. When he was happy to throw him into the derby last season, the first game after the restart, and yet he's only seen fit to use him, I think, an odd time. He came on obviously last week at Southampton, but he's not really got a chance in the league games. He's only played in a couple of the Carabao Cup games. I don't understand that at all. And this is not me. I know there's been people going, well, criticising your manager, you want him out, blah, blah, blah. Far from it. I think Carlo's fantastic. Fantastico. Magnifico. But I just have to question some of his decisions, and that's only right and proper for fans to ask those questions. So, obviously next week with United, and obviously they're in a really bad rut at the minute. They've been very, very poor, and I found it absolutely amazing that Sky, building up the Man United Arsenal game like they were, because traditionally it has been a big game. But let's be fair, where those two clubs are at the minute, it isn't. Arsenal going great guns under Mikel Arteta. He's done a really good job in the time that he's been there, but I found that very, very odd to be building that game up to make it like a Clash of the Titans, as it used to be back in the day, and they were, fantastic games, but very, very peculiar, that for me. But with them, Man United coming, and they are in a bit of a state, a real state of flux. There's definitely an opportunity for us to get back on the winning trail, and we've obviously dropped down a few places. Leicester obviously beating Leeds, and Liverpool winning, and Southampton jumping above us as well. They're continuing their very impressive run of form. So we need to get out of this little sort of blip that we've hit over the last couple of games. But it does show, these last couple of games, when we haven't had Richarlison, didn't have Luca Dean, although he will be back, missing Seamus Coleman as well, that actually, and it just proves again to what the fans already knew, that obviously our first 11 are as good as anybody in the top six, and certainly a match for anybody in the top six, but actually behind that is where we're lacking. It's strength in depth. Yes, we shifted players out, but suddenly, your options are limited in terms of who is on the bench that's going to come and change the game. I also must say about Yerry Mina, again, he was caught out for the second goal, like he was running through treacle. Ryan Fraser's a pacey player, but he's not lightning quick, and he was just found so wanting, and he just seems to want to get himself embroiled in the dark arts of it a bit much, particularly with the penalty where Callum Wilson shoved the ball into his belly. And so, Mason Holgate's return, or even Jared Branthwaite for that matter, can't come soon enough. I think we need to be much, much more solid, and that's where we need to start on Sunday against United by trying to keep a clean sheet first of all, because that gives us the basis then that we can try and win the game. So hopefully we can pick back up and get back to that early season form that we showed in the first few games on Sunday against Man United. Until then, you can get in touch at NMTBpod or nmtbpod@gmail.com. Until the weekend, come on, you Blues.